Are you into strange and spooky? Then you need to check out Shadow Market on June 27th from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. at the Manchester Event and Visitor Center in Manchester, Tennessee. It's just a short drive from Nashville. Shadow Market's a living tapestry of gothic goods, high fantasy, horror, dark art, oddities, and all things wonderfully weird. Pre-purchase tickets are just $11 or $15 at the door on the day of the event. You can purchase tickets and vendor booths now at shadowmarketus.com. Again, that's shadowmarketus.com. And be sure to follow Shadow Market on Facebook at facebook.com/shadowmarketus. Stay spooky. Welcome back to Southern Ghost Stories. I'm the American Haunted Historian, Alan Searcy. Today's story takes us to the rolling hills of Middle Tennessee, to a place where folklore, tragedy, and ghost stories have become woven into the identity of a community. And it feels especially appropriate to tell this tale right now, because in just a few days, on June 27th, Manchester, Tennessee will once again fill with strange sights, curious artifacts, paranormal enthusiasts, artists, storytellers, and seekers of the unusual, as the annual Shadow Market returns to town. Those unfamiliar with it, Shadow Market has quickly become one of Tennessee's most unique gatherings. Celebration of strange, the mysterious, the haunted, and the forgotten. Vendors bring oddities, gothic artwork, paranormal memorabilia, and handcrafted curiosities. It's exactly the kind of place where local legends are kept alive. And few local legends have endured longer, or inspired more whispered conversations. It's the tragic tale of Sadie Baker. It's a story that begins with kindness and ends with a curse. Or at least, that's what many people believe there in Middle Tennessee. We're traveling back more than 150 years to uncover one of Coffee County's most chilling ghost stories. Manchester in the mid-1800s, man, it was a very different place. Today, most people know it as a home of Bonnaroo. It's a growing Tennessee community. But during the 19th century, Manchester was a small frontier village. Dirt roads cut through the countryside. Horses and wagons moved slowly between farms. News traveled by word of mouth. Churches were the center of community life. And superstition often held as much power as fact. In those days, strangers were viewed with suspicion, especially strangers who couldn't explain themselves. According to local legend, sometime during the mid-1800s, a young woman appeared in Manchester without warning. No one knew where she came from. No one knew her family. No one knew her name. And most unsettling of all, she couldn't speak, or so it seemed. The woman wandered the streets hungry and exhausted. Witnesses reportedly described her as dirty, ragged, and nearly starving. She begged for scraps of food and whatever coins sympathetic residents or passersby might spare. Some viewed her with pity. Others viewed her with fear. But one prominent local family decided they were going to help this poor girl. They welcomed this mysterious young woman into their home. They bathed her. They fed her. They provided her clean clothing. They gave her shelter. For the first time in what may have been months, the young woman had a roof over her head and food in her belly. And as the dirt and hardship were washed away, people began to notice something remarkable. The stranger was stunningly beautiful. The transformation was dramatic enough that townspeople reportedly struggled to believe she was the same person who had wandered in Manchester a few days before. Soon, nearly every young man in town was captivated by her. They were smitten. And one man whose attention would ultimately spark a tragedy. The family that took the young woman in, they had a daughter named Olivia. According to legend, Olivia was engaged, or at least seriously courting a wealthy young man from the area. Their relationship seemed destined for marriage. Until the stranger arrived. The young woman became infatuated with the mute woman. Perhaps it was her beauty. Maybe it was a mystery that surrounded her. Perhaps it was a simple human nature's fascination with the unknown. And whatever the reason, his feelings for Olivia began to fade. Before long, he ended the relationship. His heart now belonged to the stranger. And for Olivia, the betrayal was devastating. Imagine the humiliation. Imagine the heartbreak. Imagine watching your future disappear because someone your family had invited into their home. According to the story, Olivia's mother became consumed with anger. The woman she had rescued was now the reason her daughter suffered. And in a deeply religious community where fear and superstition often mixed together, an idea began to form. An idea that proved to be deadly. The stranger wasn't merely a rival. She was a witch. At least that's what they claimed. Throughout history, accusations of witchcraft have often appeared during times of fear, jealousy, social tension. The Salem witch trials remain the most famous example, but similar accusations appeared throughout America for centuries. People feared what they didn't understand, and there was much about this young girl that remained unexplained. She had appeared from nowhere. She spoke to no one. She possessed an almost supernatural beauty, and now she had stolen the affection of one of Manchester's most eligible young men. It didn't take too long for rumors to spread. Whispers became conversations. Conversations became accusations. And eventually, according to the legend, members of the local church congregation became convinced something had to be done. One day, the young woman was seized and taken from town. Her destination was a cemetery, a place called Concord Cemetery. Today it sits near what we know as Tullahoma. Back then it was a lonely burial ground surrounded by rural Tennessee countryside. The kind of place where shadows linger beneath the old trees. The kind of place where stories are born. Waiting there that day was an open grave. And what happened next is the reason Sadie Baker's story survives today. Because according to the folklore there, the congregation and members of Olivia's family forced the young woman to the edge of the grave. And then they pushed her in. And they began covering her with dirt, alive. As soil rained down upon her, she reportedly struggled against the impossible, desperate, terrified, condemned. And then something happened that stunned everyone who was there. The mute woman spoke for the first time. As the grave filled around her, she fixed her eyes on Olivia and shouted 4 words, "I am Sadie Baker." And then the earth swallowed her voice. Forever. Or perhaps not forever. If the story ended there, it would already be one of Tennessee's most disturbing legends. But the folklore insists that was only the beginning. Because after Sadie's death, strange things reportedly began happening to Olivia. At first, she would catch glimpses of a woman standing behind her, only to turn and find nobody there. Then she began seeing Sadie's reflection in mirrors, a face appearing over her shoulder, a figure standing in the hallway, watching, waiting. According to the legend, Olivia's encounters became increasingly frequent. The ghost appeared throughout the house, in windows, in reflections, and shadows. Everywhere Olivia looked, Sadie seemed to follow. Was it a haunting, a curse, or overwhelming guilt manifesting itself in terrifying ways? No one really knows. But the story claims Olivia's mental state, it went downhill quick. Eventually, she could no longer function normally. Friends and family reportedly concluded she had lost her mind, and she was committed to an asylum in Nashville. There, according to legend, she spent the remainder of her life, forever haunted by the woman she helped condemn. And whether you believe the story literally happened or not, it's easy to see why it endured and passed on for years and years and years. At its core, Sadie Baker's tale is about fear. Fear of outsiders, fear of difference, fear of the unknown. It's a story about what happens when jealousy and suspicion become stronger than compassion. And perhaps that's why people will continue telling it. because the legend feels less like a ghost story and more like a warning. Today, visitors still seek out Sadie Baker's grave. A simple marker stands at Concord Cemetery there in Tullahoma, and nearby rests a large stone. And according to the tradition, that stone was placed there by those involved who buried her. Whether that's historically true or not, it's impossible to verify. But they say that they wanted the big stone there so she couldn't get out. The legend surrounding the grave has become nearly as famous as Sadie herself. Visitors leave coins on the headstone. Others conduct small rituals. And the most famous tradition involves speaking her name. According to local lore, if you place a coin on Sadie's grave and whisper, "I am Sadie Baker," 3 times, her spirit may appear in front of you. Some claim they've seen shadowy female figures among the gravestones. Others report hearing footsteps, whispers, or feeling suddenly overwhelmed by sadness. Of course, skeptics point out that cemeteries are emotional places. Stories influence expectations. And once a legend becomes famous, and people naturally interpret unusual experiences through that lens. But believers insist something remains at Concord Cemetery, something that never truly left, something still waiting. And that's what makes stories like Sadie Baker perfect for events like the Shadow Market. Because Shadow Market isn't just about spooky merchandise or paranormal collectibles. It's about preserving folklore, keeping local legends alive, sharing that stories that might otherwise disappear. Every community has its ghost. Every town has its mysteries. Every cemetery has stories buried beneath the stones. And Manchester may have one of Tennessee's most haunting. So if you're attending the Shadow Market on June 27th this Saturday, take a moment to remember Sadie Baker. It's a short drive to where she's buried. The mysterious stranger who arrived with nothing. The woman who inspired her obsession. The victim of fear and suspicion. And the ghost who, according to the legend, still walks among the graves. Maybe she's only a story. Maybe she's a cautionary tale. Or maybe, just maybe, somewhere in Concord Cemetery, beneath the Tennessee moonlight, a woman still waits for someone brave enough to whisper her name 3 times. Have you ever visited Concord Cemetery? Have you tried the Sadie Baker ritual? If you enjoyed this episode, check out my book, Southern Ghost Stories, Tennessee Tales, where I dive deeper into the haunted history of the volunteer state. It's available on Kindle, too. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you can read the book for free. You can read all my books for free. And speaking of books, make sure you head over to Amazon. Pick up my newest book, Pistols at Red River. It's Andrew Jackson Doolin's story. It's just wild, crazy tale. Andrew Jackson was married to a married woman. He was the butt of every joke in every saloon in Nashville. He called a guy out. They went to the state line and they hashed it out like men with pistols, as one should with someone who defames your wife. Also, make sure you guys leave a review and subscribe to the show. That really helps people find the podcast and keep the momentum going. And have you guys been to Monster City Madhouse yet? MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Their new shirt, man, it's a whole lot of fun. The Bride of Frankenstein has spoken. And honestly, she may have a point. The Mini Monsters Tea throws together a chaotic crew of pint-sized creatures, creepy cuteness, and vintage Halloween cartoon vibes into one gloriously weird design. Featuring tiny vampires, little mummies, swampy troublemakers, and one very unimpressed bride rocking the legendary line, "Boys are gross." You can use promo code SAVE10 to get 10% off your order. That's right, 10% off your order with the promo code SAVE10. It's MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Be sure to like Southern Ghost Stories on Facebook and Instagram. And send me some questions on Facebook or Instagram for the future Q&A episode. It's coming up really soon. I've been teasing it, but I've got some really good questions from you guys, and I'm going to answer them on an upcoming show. And also, one more time, don't forget the big Shadow Market, Saturday, June 27th at the Manchester Event and Visitor Center in Manchester, Tennessee. It's just outside of Nashville. Shadow Market's a living tapestry of gothic goods, high fantasy, horror, dark art, oddities, and all things wonderfully weird. Right now, tickets are just $11, but they'll be $15 at the door, so get them now while you can. You can also purchase tickets in vendor booths at shadowmarketus.com. Be sure to follow Shadow Market on Facebook at facebook.com/shadowmarketus. And until next time, I'm the American Haunt Historian, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Monster City Madhouse, a year-round online store full of Halloween and classic horror shirts with an emphasis on the vintage look. Use code SAVE10 for 10% off your order. MonsterCityMadhouse.com. Free shipping and financing's available.